Tax planning philosophy. This is always an interesting one when I get into a conversation with business owners. I do think that we are wired to have this approach where we want to save taxes at all costs. And when we look at the tax landscape, the reality is you have a business that's profitable, you're going to pay tax. That's why you exist, right? So, when I look at this whole idea from a tax planning perspective, we're trying to make the right decisions and take the right deductions to be compliant and to be smart. So number one, pay yourself a market-based wage. We have been told by a lot of tax professionals, CPAs, that this is really on kind of the dirty dozen list of like business owners that are constantly paying themselves well below market wage. Usually it's to save payroll tax. If you're doing that on a consistent basis, you are opening yourself up for issues in terms of getting, you're not in compliance. And so that's number one. Number two, focus on being profitable. Don't just spend money to avoid taxes. Now, if it's helping to grow your business and it's a wise business decision, no problem. But again, the goal is to pay taxes. That means you're making money. And then number three, and I see this too often, we love to accelerate deductions by buying that car at year end or buying an extra piece of equipment and taking the Section 179 deduction. Well, make sure you understand what bracket you're in. If you're in the 24% tax bracket or lower, you might just be best to pay the taxes now. When you're in some of these higher tax brackets, then it could make sense. But just don't default into, I'm just trying to save taxes today, because our firm's tax planning philosophy is over the course of your lifetime, what decisions can we make to minimize your tax liability over your life? Rather than just in 1 year, how do we do it over your lifetime? And because we understand your long-term financial goals and objectives, we can plan for that. Now, we're never going to be perfect, but we want to have that mindset of not just focusing on one given year. We want to look at it over a course of several years, or ideally your lifetime. So it looks like we got you off mute. I don't know if you had anything to add. Otherwise, we can kind of jump in. So
no, I agreed with you wholeheartedly on the employment end of things, with the burden being on the employer. We have seen a number of claims that have come forward that are related to compliance issues on 401k. I will say that employers get this wrong so many times, and having an advisor like you, John, or somebody from your team able to help and guide them through these issues is an ounce of prevention is worth way, way more than the pound of cure when you come to me from a litigation standpoint.
Well, and at the end of the day, like, I think we need somewhere like two or three or four documents that are easy to get, and then we do all the lift. A lot of times we'll get procrastination from whoever, because people are busy, right? You can talk to the HR person like, no, I'm trying to get these reports out. I'm doing annual reviews. We don't have time. But the good news is we'll do the heavy lift. Let us go do the legwork. All we need is a couple documents, and we'll go, we tend to go shop like 3 to 4 carriers. So we take it out to market to really see, are you getting a fair deal? Then we try to negotiate with your current vendor, because ideally it's better to stay if you can, because it's less disruptive. And I think that's a lot of time people are resistant to look at it because they're like, well, no, I don't want to make a change. It's like, that's not what we're suggesting. We just want to make sure you have an appropriate fund lineup and that it's priced effectively. So, but I appreciate that feedback. And it's only going to get worse, because what's happening is plan assets have been growing and there's just a lot of neglect there, and people aren't being, even this plan that we looked at on paper, it looked like it was paying an appropriate amount of fees. But then when we got under the hood and realized we could make a pretty big change there and make a big impact.